Good evening. My name is Jeff Mobley, and welcome to this presentation on influencing without authority for PM 612 project leadership, team, and stakeholder management. I want to talk about this idea of motivating individuals or influencing individuals when you're not in a position of authority. Just a brief roadmap or agenda where we're going. I want to start by answering the question, what are we talking about? When we talk about influencing without authority, what is the big idea that we're going for? And then I want to talk about a specific model of steps that we can follow to influence without authority, and that's called the Cohen-Bradford influencing model. So I want to introduce the model, and then I want to explain the 6 steps of that model in depth, and then finish with some concluding thoughts to sum everything up. So when we talk about influencing without authority or motivating without authority, what are we talking about? Really, we're trying to answer the question, how do I lead if I am not in charge? If there's no organic leadership position, there's no authority granted by my position that gives me the ability to tell people what to do, how do I motivate them when I don't have that authority? How do I get people to do what I want if I do not have any authority? As a manager, as a leader, as a project team leader, we may have people in our team who don't report to us. They're part of the team, and in a project sense, they may have to listen to us, but they really report to another manager in another department. And so we're going to need to influence or motivate them to do things that benefit the project. But if we don't have that organic authority over them, how do we do that? A really helpful idea in this regard of influencing without authority or leading by influence comes from John Maxwell, and he said leadership is a choice you make rather than a place you sit. In other words, leadership comes from influence and not from your position. For this reason, even when you're not in front, you are still leading those around you. So what we're talking about here is, where does influence come from in order to influence and motivate and be a leader when you don't have a leadership position? And so one model that I found that's helpful in this regard is called the Cohen-Bradford influencing model. Cohen and Bradford published a book in 2005 and subsequent articles concerning the book that describe this model of a relationship-based influence that comes from the idea of reciprocity, the give and take model. And so it's a 6-step model. Step 1, we assume all are potential allies. Step 2, we want to clarify our goals and priorities. Step 3, we want to diagnose the world of the other person. Step 4, identify relevant currencies, theirs and yours. Step 5, deal with the relationships. And step 6, influence through give and take. And we're going to go into these steps in the next slide in depth and explain what they are. But basically, it's a process of building relationships that are based on give and take. And you give something away to get what you want in the end. So the first step is to assume that all are potential allies. And what this means is to go into our influencing relationship with a positive attitude, assuming that you and the person you want to influence have common goals. So if you want to motivate somebody to do something for you, the first step is to assume that you're both on the same side, you want the same thing, and you're going to approach it from that perspective. You and I want the same thing. How do we get that together? And then secondly, clarify your goals and priorities. And what that means is figure out what it is you really want and articulate it clearly. Don't beat around the bush. Don't be vague. Don't be passive aggressive. Be very distinct and clear about what your goals and priorities are from that relationship. And then third, diagnose the world of the other person. So you want to find out or try to learn about that other person. What do they value and what do they care about? Because if you can get into that world and you can touch on those things that they value and care about, and if you can offer to them something that corresponds to those values and things they care about, that's where your influencing leverage is going to come from. And so once you've identified their values and what they care about, that can take you into the 4th step, which is to identify relevant currencies. In other words, what are the things you can bargain with? Those can be inspiration related, task related, position related, relationship related, or personal related. What are the things that you can offer them, and what are the things in order to get from them what you need in return? What are the relevant currencies? And again, those are based on their values and what they care about. Maybe they care about their position and there's something that you can do to help them in their position. Maybe there's a relationship that you can lend some influence to. Maybe there's something personally that they need or value that you can add to. Fifth, you want to deal with the relationships. What is your real relationship with that person, and how does that person want to be related to? Again, this model of influencing is based on a relationship that you have with that person that you're building, again, by learning their values and cares, learning about them, and then how do they want to be related to as a person. And then finally, once you've built this relationship and you've learned these things about this person, influence through give and take. Ask for what you want and offer something in exchange. So you've built a relationship, you've learned what they want and value and need, you offer them something that corresponds with those values and needs, and then in return you get back what it is that you want them to do, and you've motivated them through this relationship. So where does this lead us? One, it is possible to influence those over whom you have no authority if you're willing to work for it. Obviously, the 6-step model is not quick and easy. It requires relationship building and focusing on the other person. Second, influence is about give and take. It's not about just getting from other people. It's about being able to give something back to them that they care about as well, and making those trades to get what you want. And then finally, and underscoring all of this, is that tasks and relationships are important. It's not just about accomplishing tasks and getting things done, but it's also about building relationships and getting those tasks completed out of those relationships as they're built. Thank you for your time and attention. Here are my references for your review. And I hope that you appreciated this brief presentation. Thank you.